Okay, so it started recording now. So okay. So let me see how many Mayas I have. Again, I'm gonna close this just in case. And I'm just gonna work with one Maya for now. Okay. Now, at the moment, what we're looking at is just a preliminary work. We're not looking at rigging or anything like that at the moment. I'm gonna show you how to install the plugin in a minute, so you can have a look. But at the moment, it's preliminary work. This is so important, guys, because if you don't do this, then it's gonna bite you in the ass at the end. So going back to this character, free to apologize. T-pose, elbows a little bit bent, it is. Knuckles facing up, fingers a little bit bent as well, not too straight because it's quite difficult for the solve. Now, obviously this character is in a pose, so you got like the S like this, the double S, and then you got the double S there. But that is just part of the design. But it doesn't have to be 100% of it, but it just has to be make sure that it's actually properly straight. Now, the same bending we talked about, we did it in here and the knees. Okay, it's a little bit of a knee bend here. It's pretty much when we put the system in place. By doing this little bend, you actually giving a hint to the system to know that when you move up control up, the knee is going to bend in that direction. It's going to create a triangle in this direction. Okay, and the same with this. You're going to sort of create like an imaginary triangle happening here. So when you take the control and you move forward, the bend will be moved forward. See, this arm is too straight, then when you bend, it could be bending the elbow forward or up and down. So this one is like a little hint to help you with that. So again, elbow bend and knees a little bit bent. And then see here straight as well, no problem. Now you should have enough loops in the knees. Okay. The moment this is fine because this is an old version which is quite low, right? This one works. But ideally I would like, and I think I repaired that in the other one, you should have a little bit of a sort of cushion or like pinching of what is going to be bending. So if you have, imagine the knee here, then ideally these points should be like going towards this direction, like this, like that. Not too much, but something like this. So when the character bends, because the knee is gonna bend backwards, then this stuff will just mush here because there's not gonna be much translation when you bend back. It's not gonna happen much in here. Everything that, if you think about it, if you think about your knees when you bend them back, so you don't see much of the stretching happening here. It's only a sort of pinching happening here. Now that's why you need to have a little bit more area here. So when the character bends back, then there's a lot of area to move, and it will look better the volume. So the same happens in here with the elbow. You should have a little bit of a pinch. So it's a little bit of an indication that this pinching is happening here, but it should be a little bit better here, a bit more closer. Like I say, something like this. Okay. So when it bends, this stuff has more volume or more area than this because it's only got, you don't bend the elbow back unless that's what the character is supposed to do. So let me undo that so I don't mess with the character. Okay, that's it. So that's that. Again, when it happens in things like the elbow, I think here should be more loops, and here as well. This should be probably one more there. The neck is fine. The face, we're not gonna do facial animation. This is an old quick retopologizing that I did, but it doesn't matter at the moment because we're not doing face. But we're only gonna rig the jaw if we want to a little bit, but in the eyes. That's it. So in terms of elements of geometry, I put this piece which is supposed to be a ponytail, and then this one here which is supposed to be the base. Just for you, this is obviously not part of the design, just something that I put as an appendage just to show you how to do rigid body collision inside Unreal. And then the cape needs to be just a single-sided geometry, doing cloth. If you give them depth, it could work, but then things start getting collapsing into each other, and then you will have like interpenetration and like sort of mushing of the geometry. So it's better if it's a single piece. You can shade the double sided inside Unreal by taking something in the material. So it's rendered both sides without culling the back faces. So ideally, when you do a cape, and this is normally done in the game industry, is that when you have a cape, you normally would put more loops like this towards this area than you would do toward the end. And the reason is because when it's toward the end, it will flap less and it will flap in here, because here we'll have more movement, and then at the end it will be more like less geometry, so it will dissipate the energy, so it will make it look like it's not enough having enough. Doesn't have to have many polygons in the end, more polygons towards here, what is supposed to be moving more. Okay, and then here will move just a little bit less because it's just already floating in the air there. But that is just optional, you don't have to. But if you want to optimize, just make sure you probably put less polygons toward the end and more polygons toward the base. Okay. But at the end of the day, this is a pretty good standard starting point. Now the way I did this, I put everything in a single piece of geometry, in a single group, sorry, with all the things here clean. Now this is very important, guys. When you're doing your model and you finish it, you should have nothing in here. Everything should be freeze transformation. You shouldn't have you only have ones here and zeros in here. If you have history or you have stuff in here, I guarantee you it will bite you in the ass at the end, because this stuff here is taking consideration when you're doing the rigging and all that. Other thing as well, freeze transformation, okay, and then rename things as well. It's good to have everything renamed so you know where everything goes. So here you go, everything here, tail, the ponytail there, tail base, eyes. The eyes are separate, just single sphere. I think I optimized it by just cutting the geometry inside. I don't need it. But this is because it's games. So the base is just a piece of geometry there, and the tail is that. So you can see that this here is just only 4,000 polygons. You can go higher than this, you know. And I think I showed you last week the sort of statistic of PS3 and PS4 for God of War, so you can probably have a look, and as you can see that these days the graphic card can crunch a lot of geometry, and as well, you're only going to have this in the viewport. You don't have any environment, so you can probably be a little more lenient with that. So I'm not going, unless you put 300,000 polygons, I don't want to be able to tell you, oh, you passed a little bit here and there. I don't mind, but don't put 300,000-400,000 polygons, because you will start seeing the taxing on the system, okay, on the real time. That would be probably an issue. That would be probably a fail, because that's not needed for that. It's not technically correct. Okay, so again. Everything renamed, everything, the group here is 0. I put a group, I renamed it, and I put all the geometry the way it should be. Just rename, no transformations in here, only 1 and zeros in here. That should be fine. Okay. The second most important thing, guys, apart from the retopologizing, is scale. Okay, and the reason I scale is because when you rig a character with this, you have the ability to scale the character once it's rigged. You can using this plugin, but after hitting my head a couple of days trying to fix the issue, is that if we have to do an extra little bit of a hack at the end when we finish the rig in order for us to be imported correctly inside Unreal. Obviously, if we were working in a company, there will be a plugin that runs that and then clears everything out, put everything in the right container, and that should be fine. But we're not programmers, so we don't have that privilege. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you guys that you need to have the character to the right scale before you actually start rigging. Okay, it should be the final, because the hack that we're going to do at the end will kill the ability for you to rescale the character. In order for you for this plugin, whatever rig we have in this plugin or this hierarchical skeleton imported, so it works inside Unreal Engine 4. Okay, if we don't do that, then it doesn't work. It gives you an error. It doesn't import correctly the FBX with the animation and the FBX with the rig. So I came out with that solution, but you have to hack a little bit at the end, do something to it, in terms of the organizing of the nodes. It works, everything, but you kill the ability of the rig to actually scale your character. You can't do that. So once if you don't bring it in the right in the correct side, you won't be able to scale it. Now, if the character is a little bit big or small, that's fine. But if it's huge, then you're in trouble. You have to do that again. Okay, you have the ability to save some of the work. That's not a problem. But you have to probably go from the beginning and start, and then putting everything together again. So just bear that in mind, guys. It's very important. Let me check if everything is recording. Yeah. Okay. So how do you check for scale? Okay, the scale is simple. I mean, if you go into one of these views, the orthographic view, the front view, obviously I think I'm working on. Let me see this. This is settings. Yeah, I'm working in centimeters. So what I do to double check is I can go into create. You go into measure tools, go into distance tools, and you click here roughly, and you click here, and then this will give you this. And this is a tool for you to use to measure. This character is 187 centimeter, which is pretty much what I want, 1.8 meter. So this character is pretty much ready for you to scale. Now, if you want, let's say that instead of 187, you give you, I don't know, 1,800, something that's 10 times bigger, then you have to go into this guy, scale it down, and then freeze the transformation. And then you're ready to go. But this tool here will allow you to measure this. And you can select the locators wherever you want. The moment they're here, so I can put them in 0, 0. The first locator and the last locator should be on X, shouldn't have anything, but only on Y. And this guy is 1.87, so you can see that it's right here. Just an estimation, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but roughly like that, this guy is 187. And that will give you here in the viewport roughly a distance. What is the distance between the feet here and all the way to the top. So that is something that is a nice tool that you can use for you to double check that your character has the right scale. Okay, this is very important. Right scale, good pose. Like I said to you at the beginning, I'm not going to be checking on texture. I know I said, well, the character texture is not bad, whatever, not good, whatever. I'm not going to do that. This is just, I have UVs, and you should have UVs there. I say ideal, but if you don't, it's fine. It's fine by me, guys. But it's good to have the UV so you can have your character nicely textured, because I'm assuming you're using a character you already have in place. And as well, if you want to showcase it better, then it's nice to have your textures. People can see it. Oh, it looks nice. Or and also it helps with the stretching when you're doing the skinning. So yeah. Okay, so everybody having some question here. So we can use characters from last year. Yes, as long as you are retopologizing this. No, I can retopologize my summer character. Yes, okay, that was the semaphore. So somebody says I can access Canvas on my laptop. Okay, Canvas. Do you not have access to Canvas, Agatha? Access to okay. The song. Okay. So I think I mentioned in terms of bipeds, and just trying to use biped guide because it's easier to rig. If you have a quadruped, you can, but you have to do a little bit of fiddling around. And I think one or two students did it from last year, and it proved to be quite challenging. But it can be done. But it just had to be. The thing about rigging is you have to follow everything clean and step by step. If you miss one step, it's gonna bite you always at the end. So just keep an eye on those. That's why I'm recording this class, so you can have this. And then I will record another class between tomorrow and Thursday for the next part. So for now, this is pretty much what you need to make sure you meet. Ideally, guys, you should have a character ready for next week. Ideally, and I can't stress that enough because there's a lot to cover on this. So I will upload this file, this MA file, so you can have a look, guys, and then use it as a template. This file the original has already this stuff in place, so you can have a look. Okay, so what's next? The next thing, again, pose, topology. The two more important things is topology, obviously, for the formation, and the scale, because the hacking that we're going to do kills the ability to rescale the character in reading time, so in animation time, actually. So you can't do that. So in order to do that, you have to make sure that you're in scale, so everything imports correctly inside Unreal. Again, so what do we do? What do we have next? So next, once you have this, then you start the rigging process. Okay, and the rigging process doesn't mean we're going to start next week. And pretty much what you need is the advanced skeleton plugin that we talked about last week. And if you want to install it, what I've done is I got my custom here. This is my custom, but what I do is I'm gonna go here into the shelf editor here, and I'm just gonna create a new shelf, and I'm just gonna name it Advanced Skeleton I think it's skeleton 5, and then it creates a brand new tab here. And all you have to do in order to make it work is you go and wherever you install Advanced Skeleton, I install it in my C drive, installing my computer. So you can put it wherever you want, but I install it here in the C drive, Advanced Skeleton. And all you have to do is drag this guy, install mel. You can find instructions here in the install.txt, and it's pretty much this, and tell you what to do. And all it is take this mel, which is the scripting language of Maya, then you just drag and drop it into the viewport of Maya, and then it creates this for you, and that's it. It's all installed. That's all you have to do. Once you have that, then you are ready to go. You can just click on this button, and it loads up this UI that you can just have to go step by step to start rigging your characters, and that's all we have to do. So for now, we're not going to cover that because it's just part of the actual rigging process. But for now, we're just doing the preliminary work, which is making sure that characters scale, pose correctly, good topology, UVs if you want to, or if you should ideally. And then make sure that everything is zero out in a group, and it has as well everything with no translation. Important, guys, no history. Please don't have any history in that. So everything should be clean. So once you have that, then you can start with the process of rigging. It's something that we're going to cover next week. But for now, what I'm going to show you is a little bit of few concepts. I have written here the concept we're going to cover. It's about the actual how the joints work, because the way we are rigging now, because this is our art course, this is not a programming or technical course, then we are not going to be rigging characters from scratch, because rigging characters from scratch is quite a little bit technical, and is quite not very pleasant process. But everything is treated as a black box pretty much. You are told you have to click here, click there with this plugin, and everything is done for you. Because in underlying, every time you do a process, it pretty much scripts all the process inside with Python, I think it is, and then it will run, and then it will automatically create the arm or the legs and the spine, everything in one go with a couple of clicks. Before, you had to actually create this, go back in there, freeze transformation, create a control, do the parenting, all that stuff. You have to do it from scratch. But now, because we're using a modular rigging system, everything is done under the hood for you. So everything is being coded. And this is how it is working in the industry. Everything in the industry, you have a kind of group of technical artists. They've done all these tools for you. And then when a new character comes in, they will add more tool sets for it. That's their job. And then they will obviously troubleshoot any issue that you have with your character and so forth. When you are an animator, all you do is animation, and the riggers do the rigging, but sometimes animators are quite good at rigging as well, so they sort of fiddle around with a few things here and there. So we're doing everything from a black box perspective. Everything is done for you. You don't have to understand what is under there. But I thought that it's good for you guys to know a little bit about the concepts of what is happening underneath. Okay, and one of them is the idea of a joint. Okay. So, and the joint is pretty much one of the core elements of the rigging process under the rigging step-by-step process. So, and one of them is a joint. Okay, so and as well, we're gonna talk a little bit about workspace, parenting, and all that, because that's quite important for you, and you can use that as well for other aspects, not just for character, but you can use it for, I don't know, a car, and you go wheels, and you want to put a piston, and then how do you automatically animate a piston? Then you can use joints as well. So that is pretty much something that you can work on. So and it's beneficial in loads of ways, not just on rigging. So I'm just gonna hide this for now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hide this for now, so we can just have a look at it and just have nothing for just to have a look. So the concept of a joint is pretty much just a visual guide that is used by Maya to actually store a local rotation and a translation, and then have some sort of hierarchy with children's under there. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So if you go here into modeling and you click on the rigging module, then you will have access to this menu, which is the joint menu. And the joint menu will ask create joints, insert joints, mirror joints, orient joint, all that stuff that is related to joints. Okay. The beauty about this plugin, you don't have to create any of that stuff. All the stuff is done automatically for you. But if, for example, the ponytail is not something that is actually standard in a character, it's something that we created, I put it there. So we're going to have to create some joints from scratch, and it would be beneficial for you to know a little bit about that. We're gonna go through that when we cover when we actually rigging the character. But for now, I'm gonna show you a little bit of what does this mean, because this is quite important. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the top view, okay, and I'm just gonna go here into the swimming, and I'm just gonna sort of mimic what is an arm, or what an arm, which is a shoulder, an elbow, and a wrist, and that is done using this tool, which is the create joint tool. Okay, you click here, and then you click on there, click there, and click there. Okay, and now once you have this, it creates three things. Okay, and these three things are pretty much just some sort of, these things, by the way, they don't get rendered. These things are invisible. This is just some sort of system that allows you to store, like I said, rotation scale relatively one to another. And this is something that is quite used in the industry. Okay, like I said, you can actually create anything. When you rig a car, you use the joints as well, you know, or mechanical things. So if you find that these joints are too small, this visualization, you can make them bigger. One way of making them bigger is if you go, I'm gonna put it here in my shell. So I go in my custom shell. I'm gonna put it here so you can do clicking easily. So what you do is you press Control Shift Hold, and you go into I think it's display. Go into animation, and then tell them click button says joint size, and then joint size is added to this. And then when you click there, this pops up telling you how big do you want this in Maya unit. So you can tell them I want it to be a little bit bigger. Yeah, so we can see them easily. Now, as you can see, these are just representations of the actual joints, okay, the actual rotation, local rotations and local space. Now, this, like I said, these things are not going to be rendered. These things are invisible. And the plugin that we have here, it will be creating all that stuff for you automatically, guys. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is readjust it, that's all. So what you do is, let's rename them, or let's have a look here what they look like in the outliner. So if you do that, we create a joint 1. You can see joint 1. You select, click here, and the bar, you have joint 2, and you click here, you have joint 3, and they're all children of one another. If you press the up arrow in the keyboard, you can see you can go to the parent. If you go down arrow, then you can go to the children. Okay, up and down. It's a hierarchy, and then you can see it here as well, represented by this. When you click here, you have all this open. If you want to open all of them in one go, all you have to do is press Shift and clicking this, and it opens all of them in one go. So when you have something quite big, it will open the whole thing for you. Okay, so you have this. Okay, so let's rename them. So the basic way of renaming, there are more sophisticated way of renaming this, but the basic for you guys will be you select the bar, you select this little sphere, or the bar here, the same. It will select this. You double click there, and you just call this shoulder. Okay. And when I type properly, this might obviously, but just you click here as well. You can select it here, or you can select it there, and that will be the elbow. Okay, we're just mimicking an arm for now, and this will be a wrist. Okay. Okay. Now, these got nothing. They don't have any meaning or anything like that. They just, this guy is the children of this guy, and this guy, both are the children of this guy. So this is, you know, children, the child, father, grandfather, or mother, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So how do they come along? Now, if you have a look at this, if you're selecting this, this guy has something in there. You see, it got nothing here. It has a scale. This is an extra attribute, which is the radius. You can do it individually as well. So go back to 1. That's what we type in the other one, but you can see this one is slightly smaller, so we can put all of them to 1 if we want. That will be fine. This is just something you can use for a visual representation, visual aid. Now, this guy here has a little bit of a work to do. So, what do I mean by that? So, if you have this guy here, you have translate X, Y, and Z. The moment this thing is telling me that it has 0.03 units on Z forward, very small. You can see it's not right on top of the Z0, it's just a little bit forward. Okay, and it has this value on X. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or nearly 7 units. So 1, 2, 3, yeah, 7 units, just about 7 units here, path on X. And it has no units in Y, which means that it's sitting on the ground. So if you move it up, you can see I can move it up, I can move it to this side, or I can move it to this side. Okay, doesn't matter. Now, this thing here has as well his own translation as well. It has 12 units, okay? It has no units on X and no units in Y and no units in Z. And the reason for that is because this translation is relative to this. So this guy is 12 units away from his father, from this, or mother. And as well, this guy here as well has 15 units away from this. Okay? So that is what is called in computer graphics local space. So every single one of these joins individually has its own local space. This obviously has the world space, because if I put everything here back to 0, the guys go back to 0, 0, 0. If I put this guy everything to 0, it goes back to 0, 0 there, because it's obviously relative with the other one, because the other one is already in 0. Okay? So you can see if you see this guy, it got 12 units. So if I move this guy here, I still got 12 units, even though the guy is not on 12. If you go x12, that will be x1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It should be around here. This is 12 units relative to the parent. Okay, and the same with this. Okay, so that is what is called a local space. Okay, this guy has, because it's in the root here, it's part of the world space. This is local because it's relative to this, and this is local because it's relative to this, and at the same time relative to this. Okay, now that is all good because we have the way this is already in place. But that's how we drew those things. You know, we can draw them however we want. Okay. Now, so how do we use the joins? The joins, they on their own, they will move one by one. So if I move this guy here, okay, and if I want to rotate, let's imagine obviously this is the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist. If I want to rotate this, then I will rotate it by doing this. And you can see that I have now rotation. And it's happened the rotation on Y. I'm rotating this guy 88 degrees on Y. And then I can rotate him back. Okay, I can rotate in all angles. Okay. And then at the same time, I can rotate this guy because this guy is local. And then when I move this, it will not interfere with the other one. It will stay there. And the same here. I can do it, but you cannot see it much because he hasn't got anything to draw under there. But you can see that it keeps that. You see? So that is what is called a local space, and this is what is called a world space. If I put something new here, this is in world space. Okay. And if I create another box or one of the geometry, and I press Shift and I press P, I'm doing the same thing. I'm parenting this. So this guy, I can rotate him, but this guy is the father. I can rotate him. You see, it doesn't interfere at all with the rotation of the child. Okay, because there is a relationship of this guy in comparison with this, and as well, this one because it's 0 is fine. This one here is on 10 units. And this guy, because it wasn't moved, is exactly 10 units in comparison with this guy. 10 units now, down. That's why it's negative. Because it was here on you pretty much you move internally, this thing goes in there, and then technically that goes down again. That will be minus 10 units down, because this guy's already 10 units. See? So I'm moving it down 10 units. And again, this guy is in local space, and this is in world space. If I take this guy out, I press middle click and drag, take it out. You see now, this guy is in world space, and this guy is in world space. You can see now the Y is gone, because now it doesn't have anything under. Now I take this guy, and if I want to put this under this, I take this, and I middle click and drag and put it in there. Now this is the father, and this is the child. You can see this guy got 3 units up, and that's because it started messing up with the original joint. So because this guy already had some transformation when moving there, so it gets some sort of residual, I guess. But that is irrelevant at the moment. Don't worry about it. So again, this is already been taken care of for you. So if you were to move this joint like that, then you get something here. So if you select this father or the grandfather, whatever, this joint, and you go into edit, and you delete the history, okay, of this. Now this one didn't have any rotation. Now this one has some rotation. You delete the history. No, sorry, not the history. What am I doing? The freeze transformation. Okay, a freeze transformation this. Now this one here, you see now it's gone. this one is gone. Well, I don't remember if this one have it. But now I lost the original position of this because now I freeze transformation. But when I do the freeze transformation, I don't freeze transformation this. Joins can have transformation residual values in here. They must have them because they are relative one to another. But they cannot have residuals in the rotation because that will be taken care of when we're doing the solve. And when I mean solve, I mean this. So just I'm going to show you what roughly the rigging, one of the rigging things do under the hood with this plugin is that it creates something called a icon handle. So if I click here, create icon handle, don't worry about that. What that means is all been taken care of for you in the plugin. So you click here, you click there, and it creates this guy. Okay, and this guy is the icon handle. So when you move this, you can see that it creates an automatic elbow system shoulder control for you. Okay, so you can see here this is all taken care of. Okay, and this is what I mean when I said make sure that the shoulder has a little bit of a bend, because that bend will help this imaginary triangle to be formed. So if you got this thing straight line and you create an icon handle, then this will not be able to produce, pretty much the joint will be right on top of this line and it will pretty much solve incorrectly. So when you move this, you will not have this nice movement, which is what you assume when a character moves the arm, move down, then the elbow will move in that direction. You might move the arm and then the elbow will flip to the front, something like that, and it will break your rig. But again, if you take care of that position exactly the same, it should be, then you should be. You only need a couple of degrees and that should be fine. But you're gonna be doing that when we do the rigging, because the rigging system, what it does, it creates a whole skeleton for you from scratch. And I can probably show you that in a second, okay? But for you, I'm just gonna delete this for now. So you can see that that is what I mean when I said solving. So this thing should be clean with no transformation. And that's something that is taken care of when you actually doing the rig. So if I delete this, and I think, let me see if I can put here quickly in the advanced skeleton, so I can show you what a rig does for you automatically. Is this? Let me body bit. I'm gonna bring the biped game and I'm gonna import it. You can see here that it created everything automatically for you. Look, join side, they're making bigger. Look, it pretty much created the fingers, the elbow, the shoulder, everything automatically for you. The foot, the knees, everything is already taken care of. You and rename accordingly. The spine. So once you start, what we have to do is we have to bring that in, adjust it to your character, follow some procedures there, and you're ready to go. Pretty much. So there are some really cool stuff in here. You can see you can bring a, I don't know, even a vehicle. You see that's new. I don't know, a bird. And if you have a character that has wing, you can reuse the bird from this and the joint from this, and you should be able to give it a go. I think this one was quite messed up for some reason. I think the joint size are too big. Yeah, let's see. For some reason, obviously, I assume that the bird is very small. So yeah, you can see here that it has roughly for a bird to start. This is just starting process, you know. And I think later on when you, I think I can't remember. I'll go through this with you. You build this, and he automatically builds everything for you. Look. And then here you can have a special system in play. You can just see there. So you can see that the whole thing is done for you automatically, and the same with the biped. So I think this, let me delete this. Let me see if I can. Yeah. So pretty much that is going to be taken care of for you. You don't have to worry about that. But the important thing is that it will be important to know what the joints are and how they work, because you will be moving them and rotate them accordingly in order to fit your character. And then you will hit the button and then you will rebuild everything. And then when you rebuild that stuff, then you will start working on the actual character itself. So at some point, let me see if I can open a file that is already in place. Like I'm gonna give you this file. I'm gonna open in a minute, but I think, for example, I think that was step 1. Step 2, this one here, I think it's the first step where you have to put everything under a group and then call it geo. That's part of the process. We're gonna go through that. Don't worry. Let me go a step further. I got everything already saved, so we can just here. And no biggie either here, I think. Let me see if I can. Step 5. Yeah, step 5, you see I already done something. In step 5 here, I already got my character in place. I already have done some stuff to it. And I already can work on moving my character. You can see that it's all, you see? Got that. You got the ability to manipulate the elbow, but it's still in early development. But you have to see, we can create control for the, we did this from scratch, these ones, name and joints, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. I put one for the jaw, and this is all taken care of. You can see that the knee works properly. So the good thing about this plugin is that all this stuff, you say, oh my god, that's so complicated. That stuff is just done with a couple of clicks, just 2 buttons. This is all coded under there with Python, I think it is. It's already been coded for you. But you have to do is just make sure that this stuff is in the right position like this, and the joints, and then the fingers are nicely placed inside the tubular area. The jaw, the eyes are in the right place. This is in the right place. The spine and the legs and all that, and then when you click one button, boom, it's all done for you. Okay, so let me open the original one, which is the one I'm gonna give you this week, so you can have a look. It's this one. It has, like I say, it has all that, and it has the locator, so you know exactly how big this character is. So so that is pretty much what it is in terms of the actual geometry or work. But one of the important things as well that we're going to go through, and that is the skinning, is that you will assign areas of the geometry influence, and those joints are the one that are going to be controlling the movement. And that's something that I will cover in a specific video for when we're doing the skinning and we're doing the last stages, because first you make sure the character is prepared, and then it tells you here, look, pre-work, the preparation of the work, and it tells you here, make sure the model is clean, the check, the scene, and then it does all that for you. You follow this, click this, click this, click this, click that, you're ready to go. Okay, and we're gonna go through the other concepts like referencing and things like that. They are part of the actual rigging process. Okay, so let me see, how's the recording going. I think the recording, yeah, we recorded pretty much 40 minutes, and I will upload this between today and tomorrow on Canvas, and then I will give you a link for this so you can have a look at that. Now, like I said, guys, ideally you should have your character ready for next week, and I advise you to start working on that character as soon as you have it. But you can follow the classes with this model that I'm going to give you. I'm going to give you this MA file, which has no dependency whatsoever from this plugin. It's just geometry and the measure tool, so you know exactly the scale. And then you can take it from here. You follow this, that's fine. But just remember that at the end, you're going to have to do yours. So I think the latest you can get away with this is when you start animating, because once you start animating, you need to animate your character. You cannot animate my character. It's not going to work. You could pass information from one character to another, but that would be more technical actually than what we have to do. So it would, I will be against that. I don't want my character to be running around there. You want your character, otherwise you fail. So, has anybody got any question about this so far?
Not from me.
Oh, sounds all right.
Yeah. Anybody?
Sounds good.
What did you say, Miguel?
I just said sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Okay, good. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, I'm gonna stop this recording now. Like I said, I'm gonna upload it on YouTube and then put the link on the page. I think I'll put in the same page that I put the one for the one we just did, the one that I uploaded the other day, and then you should have that up and running for next week, guys. Please have the character ready for next week. It's very important. Again, if you don't, then you can still work with it, but definitely when it comes to animation, you cannot get away with that anymore. Okay, and animation, just trying to leave some time for it because it takes time. It's time consuming. Okay, so
Sweet.
sorry.
Sweet.
Okay, cool. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into the help room, and then guys move into the help waiting room, and I will start dragging you one by one, so you can show me your work and show me where you are, and show me if you got any question about your work or any question in general. Then I will help you out. Okay. So
Cool.
I'm gonna go into help room. Then guys, please go into the waiting room, and then I will drag you one by one into the help room, so I can you can share the screen with me, and then we have a look at your work. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna start that now. Cool. Thank you.